What's up, guys? We're a few weeks out of Dillian White and Moses Itauma. How do you say his name? Because I'm Tongan and I pronounce A-U-Au. So, Moses Itauma. I've heard Moses say Itauma. I've seen this African British man say Itauma. So, I'm going to say Itauma. We are just a few weeks out of Moses Itauma and Dillian White. I've said before that Dillian White has been quite quiet, and this was in the earlier stages. Now we are only a few weeks out, and he's becoming a lot more vocal. And from what I've seen, he's looking good. He's trimmed up. He's taking this fight seriously, and he's made a lot of comments regarding what people think about this fight. Dillian White really reminding us who he is. He's always been a fighter's fighter. He's always been loved by the fans because he gives us what we want. And his fights, they're violent fights. A lot of punching, a lot of standing toe to toe, and a lot of willingness to knock them out or be knocked out. Because there's a lot of people, or a lot of journalists, even Derek Chisora himself, even me, we've all kind of raised our concern about Dillian White. That question being, why is he doing this? Like, why are you doing this? Dillian White told us his conversation with Derek Chisora, and he really shat on Derek Chisora, right? And said, you call yourself war, but you're not willing to fight these guys because they might beat you or because he's a real big talent. Dillian White is not like that. Well, Dillian White doesn't care. Yes, Moses Itauma is a very, very big talent. A very, very promising, a very, very young, promising prospect. He definitely knows what he's in for, and that's a hard night. He is in there with definitely a future world champion. We expect Moses Itauma to win, right? Even though Dillian White is showing us and saying that he's willing to fight anyone, which we don't doubt, and he's proven so, taking on this fight with Moses Itauma. If Dillian White loses, if Moses Itauma wins, what happens next? Because we've seen interest from Saudi Arabia, from Turkey Al Sheikh. He wants to see Moses Itauma versus Alexander Usyk. He never mentions Parker, which is annoying. But he mentions Moses Itauma versus Alexander Usyk. That's what he wants to see. If Moses Itauma goes through Dillian White in such a violent way, I think we will be seeing Moses Itauma versus Joseph Parker next. Maybe in the future. Maybe in the near future, because Joseph Parker has been out of the ring for a while now. You know what I mean? And his last fight lasted like 2 rounds. So it would be great if he got some rounds in. Should those rounds be with Moses Itauma? Because right now Parker is kind of like playing like the waiting game on like who they put in front of him next or what he should do next. I would love him just to fight anyone right now, because we all know that Alexander Usyk is not fighting for at least a few months. Maybe at the end of the year we'll see him. But right now, he's not fighting. Joseph Parker hasn't fought in a bit. It would be great to see Joseph Parker versus maybe a lower fighter, a lower level fighter. Get him a good win. Get him a tough fight where he gets rounds in, where he sharpens up his tools. Then he can fight Alexander Usyk, if they let him. Maybe it's going to be Moses Itauma. I don't know. But circling back into Moses Itauma versus Dillian White, I think that's even though I want to give benefit of the doubt, I just don't see it. I don't see Moses Itauma losing. I don't see him in a hard fight. Maybe that's hard to see because we haven't seen him in a hard fight. We've seen him kind of just beat these guys with great skill. And it's not like he's just a power puncher. No, he's a boxer, mover, southpaw that times you onto shots, and the boy can crack too. So he's kind of dangerous all around. I don't see the fight going the full rounds. I feel like Moses Itauma is going to finish Dillian White. But I do think we will see a very good version of Dillian White. Like always, he is going to put his best foot forward. He's going to be working behind that jab, throwing that 2 with bad intentions, and swinging with that 3. I think we're going to be seeing that. I just think Moses Itauma is going to be just a step ahead every single time. He's quicker, he's younger, he has great timing, he has great movement. He has these things over Dillian Whyte, over an older version of Dillian Whyte. Moving down the card onto Filip Hrgovic versus David Adelaide. I like this fight. I think this is going to be good showing for Filip Hrgovic. I think Filip Hrgovic is going to win, 100%. But David Adelaide is not going down without a fight. He never does. He's a very exciting fighter. The only thing is that Filip Hrgovic has seen this style many, many times. He's a very decorated amateur boxer. And so I think he will take care of David Adelaide. I think for the Filip Hrgovic fight, Filip Hrgovic is going to be working behind his jab and constantly throwing that right as he does. But if age catches up to him, he's kind of showed but the thing with Filip Hrgovic is that he's showing signs of like, I don't know what you call it, but like of like disinterest when you're in the fight. You know, sometimes when things are quite tough, he'll just like take a breather, chuck his hands down and look unmotivated in the rounds. I remember when we saw this, I believe, was it with Zhilei Zhang? Did Filip Hrgovic fight Zhilei Zhang? And like it was kind of a close fight, and in that fight we saw little glimpses of him kind of just slacking off. So if we see that version of Filip Hrgovic, if we see Filip Hrgovic kind of get dragged into deep waters, if we see him in like round 8, round 9, round 10, if he starts to show those signs, I think David Adelaide could eventually catch him. Those are things to worry about later on in the fight. I think early in the rounds 1 to 5, it's going to be Filip Hrgovic. David Adelaide will try. Filip Hrgovic, I think, is too sharp behind his long reach and his good range and distance. So for that fight, I have Filip Hrgovic winning by either stoppage in the mid-rounds or possibly by unanimous decision, or David Adelaide's going to catch him at the end of the fight. I don't see David Adelaide catching him early. But that's how I see it. I could be wrong. I'm only human. But as for the main event, Moses Itauma and Dillian Whyte, I think Moses Itauma is just like everything's leaning towards him. I don't see him losing. What's interesting is what will happen next. So that's me, guys. What are your thoughts? Let me know. See you guys next time.